So before I get into this one, just a quick explanation. I think I've resolved all of the audio issues, except for one moment towards the end where it may crop up again. There is a kitten that likes to adventure on my keyboard. Sorry about that. Tonight's session, we call it session 2. It's actually the third session, but we always start at session 0. So for session 2, we actually had a fourth member join us, and she has a new character to add into the party. So I hope everyone enjoys, and here we go. All right, and we've started recording. This is session 2 of the Faythen'oc Shield quest, not counting session 0. So, who wants to go ahead and give a recounting of the adventure so far?
All right. So is this both sessions? Is this session 0 and 1?
Jackie could probably use a catch-up.
Okay, yeah. So in session 0, it basically just entailed the 3 heroes that were playing that night meeting. Those 3 heroes being Driven, who got a task from the 7 families. Are they officially known as the 8 families still, despite one of them being gone?
It's the Council of 8 is what they call themselves, but so officially they refer to themselves as a group of 8, but yeah, there are only 7 families in the council.
Okay, and quickly, Tice, what's your character's name again? It's like Masa something? Masashi. Okay. So so the task that Draven got was to find Heldren, basically, and to basically independently ensure that the task that they're being sent upon succeeds. This task was later revealed to Heldren, who was just kind of carving insignias into the mountain in the middle of Faythen'oc. And this task is basically to go and find the shield which belonged to the mother of a great hero, and to make the appropriate engraving on that shield to turn it into a heroic artifact, and then to bring it to the bearer, or the person who needed to bear it, which we later found out was a great hero named Gunther. The way this basically works is that this giant mountain that we're just carving a ton of engravings into right in the middle of Faythen'oc is essentially going to be just like an enormous focus for the Faythen'oc belief network. And we need artifacts kind of out in the wildlands, or just kind of out in the faraway places, to kind of channel that energy and kind of focus it into the places where we need it to be. The Council of 8 has decided, apparently, that that the Thar party needs to have access to that energy network, and this shield is presumably going to be what grants that access. So when Heldren, my character, went before the council, they gave him pretty much the same instructions they gave Draven, with fewer details, less overt reference to how perilous a journey it may be. And they informed Heldren to seek out Masashi, who was a heroic tea brewmaster, who, through their arrangement, just so happens to be kind of passing through right now. So we went, Heldren went to the inn and found Masashi. Draven happened to come across us there. That was the end of the first session. And then the second session consisted of, at the very beginning, Draven and Heldren, both being bards, kind of independently felt a disturbance in the belief network. It was kind of being infected with doubt. So they both kind of independently tracked it down to what looked like a smithy, kind of a shop, about a half-mile away from the inn. And they took slightly different routes about it. Draven just scaled the wall and pretty much went in there, while Heldren went back and recruited Masashi, as well as one heroic monster hunter, to go aid in what potentially might be up there. What Draven found was that on the second story, there was a blacksmith there who was praying to a portrait of his father. And he was overcome with doubt because there was another smith nearby who was superior to him, who was his better. And, being Faythen'oc through and through, the idea of him not being the best was really fucking with his head. So we end up having a weird whole thing where Draven and Helldrin, through very, very different ways, tried to kind of talk him off that ledge, talk him out of his doubt. Helldrin kind of went a very kind of stereotypically, pump him up way, where it was kind of trying to teach him the value of diversification of skills, and how, as a united Faythen'oc front, we may be better off having just multiple really good smiths, regardless of who's better. Draven really kind of weaponized the shit out of his doubt and basically convinced him to make himself the other smith's apprentice and kind of learn what he's weak at and become his better and kind of just basically beat him. It created an interesting conflict, one that I'm really kind of excited to see how it kind of plays out the rest of the way, because I don't think we planned that, but I think it's a cool dynamic. So anyways, we both kind of had our say. We de-polluted the belief network. I think the Smith is very confused now. He received very conflicting directions, but we were both pushing in the general direction of believe in yourself for very different reasons. So I think with that all kind of taken care of, we were ready to set out, and that was when the second session ended. Or I should say the first session, since the first session was 0.
Cool.
All right. So, starting off now, I guess when you guys left off, you were back with the council, with the representatives from the 7 families at the Council of 8, and they had more documentation for you, which they turned over to try and help you. They very much have the appearance of people that are just now getting informed that there's a crisis, and they're scrambling to get as much detailed information as they can for you before sending you out. They gave you documents on what they know so far. They have pretty good knowledge about Harving, where she is, where she's headed, and the 2 heroes that are with her, Gunther and Wulthar. They even have some of Harving's early theses from when she was in training, stuff that talks about like potentially making a hero self-sufficient so that they can manifest powers without bards being present, stuff like that. They kind of turned all that over to the bards in the party. And then they've said, like, we've arranged at noon to have transportation to take you to the border town, which is the closest place that we can get you to the site where Daru, the woman who bore the shield, to the site where her body was found.
Also, okay, and from there we are to proceed into the Empire.
Yes. You are to research exactly what happened to her and figure out where her shield is, because her shield was not on her body when her body was recovered. And she had come from the Empire to that battle site. And that's all the info that we really have at the moment. And so, with one last couple hours for you to gather provisions, is there anything you wanted to take care of before you leave the city? It will likely be a while before you're back.
I just want to read Harving's thesis.
All right. Jackie, what was Harving's thesis primarily about?
Oh boy. I mean, so let me look at some notes.
And I mean, I don't mean to spring that on you now. You can just tell me later. I'm fine with that.
I think really it was just about trying to make heroes that were not necessarily ignorant of the systems at play. Like it kind of relies on them like just buying into kind of like whatever lie you tell them essentially. But what if you could basically make them capable of forming their own consistent realities or alternate realities for themselves? Like they can build mental systems that they're able to draw upon, that they're able to use these powers with instead of just a lie, because it's all about like the power of belief. So if you can create these like mental schematics, then you can literally do anything.
Kind of reminds me of like It almost, where it's like once you understand that by not believing in it, it can't hurt you. You can just you like weaponize the shit out and just choose not to believe in it.
Not just that, but choose to shape the belief in like whatever direction you want without having to have a pre-existing lore surrounding it.
Cool. Yeah, Helljourner would be super intrigued by that. So yeah, I'll definitely dive right into that.
Go ahead and make a scholarship check. Oh, right. We don't have... Where's Ed? We don't have Uther.
So that'd be scholarship and what? Cunning, probably?
Yeah.
All right, yes, that's 3 dice. My scholarship is not good yet. I'm gonna level it up as we go, but for now, yeah.
Yeah, I've grabbed my own D10s right now. I have a bunch of D10s, so many.
I've only got like 3 or 4 of them, I think. I don't even know where they are. It's been so long since I actually used physical dice.
Okay, so your examination of the paper, she has a lot of interesting theories. This is obviously a very young, early version of these ideas, but from what you can tell right now, you're not sure how one would go about doing what she's proposing, but you can foresee the results of it. And the results would be some very, very powerful heroes. Heroes that are manifesting supernatural abilities kind of whenever they want and just making shit up on the fly. Reality shaping around them, almost like tiny gods.
Cool. Well, I look forward to meeting Harving and discussing this further.
Alright, I'm just going to keep the dice right here and hope that the cat doesn't rip the bag to bits.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you. So that's what you do in your 2 hours as you read through her thesis. Troy, what does Draven do?
So once we move into the Empire, we're already kind of going to diminish, right? We're going to lose a lot of the potential we have.
Yeah, you're not going to have access to the belief network out there. But that's not where you're going right away. The place you're going to is a border town that does have access to it. It's a bit far away. It's literally thousands of miles from where you currently are. But it is connected to the belief network, which is why they're able to get you there. The transportation is magical, and it does require the belief network to be present at the destination.
Okay. I'm not sure what I would be doing to prepare. Not sure that I would need to do anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be kind of just off somewhere. Just like
if you'd like to just rest, you can recover 2 tax.
Yeah, that's all I want to do. I don't even know if I have taxes right now, but I'll just be getting ready and not anywhere around, and I'll show up when they're ready to go.
Okay. And then, let's see. Masashi, are you doing anything other than making tea?
I'm gonna go around finding the best of ingredients. like tea leaves and other things I can make into tea for when I go out into the, especially when we go into the kingdom area. I can bring the qualities of Faythen'oc into there, so they will understand how great the tea, the ingredient makers are in our area.
All right, make a resource check. Oh, I'm sorry. How many dice do you have for resource?
I have 3 resources.
Okay, so all 3 of them came back as successes. You, in journeying about, you encounter... No, don't roll the dice. This could be a nightmare. You encounter the monster hunter that you had spoken with the night before, and true to your advice, he has acquired the liver of a dragon, and he brought it to you. He wants you to use most of it to make him some tea, but if you do that, you can have the rest, and it's a quality 10 filter that you can use.
Okay, and I can spend 1 trade to make it refined for quality ingredients.
Yes, you can.
Okay, I'll spend 1 trade to make it quality refined. Now we'll also make him a tea then, and I'll spend whatever. I think it's.
You don't have to roll for the tea. It's just you're going to make him some tea. The result doesn't particularly matter here.
Yeah, I'll make him tea, and then yeah.
It's amazing tea. Unless you were trying to convince him to go with you, but yeah. I'm not sure how much your character actually understands what you guys are doing or where you're going anyway.
I was told that that I was making tea and stuff for meetings and stuff.
Yeah, you're going somewhere where they highly value tea ceremonies. It's one of the few things they do that's cultural as far as you're concerned. Or so you've been told. You've also been told it's a barbaric land where they don't even respect the pictures that are carved onto their money. And so the 3 of you gather in sort of a town square at noon, and only 3 of the 7 houses are there, and 2 of them are just kind of hanging back. But the one guy from the House of the Granite Wings is looking at a statue, and for those of you who are bards, you can tell he's doing something psychic with the energy in the statue. Shortly after, he looks to the sky, and a chariot being pulled by a pair of golden, ghostly eagles descends from the sky. Its rider is standing like 15 feet tall. The chariot is massive and is just glittered with gems and shiny bits. The eagles are... The one thing about them that's kind of interesting is while they are themselves made out of a glowing golden light, their wings are not. Their wings are very clearly made of cold, hard granite. And it gives the effect that the eagles don't have wings so much as the wings have eagles. You are bidden to board this supernatural chariot, and the driver, who you recognize as being a sort of classic hero of transportation, he gives sort of a shout and a jangle at the reins, and the eagles lift off into the sky, pulling the chariot with them. And you start moving at supersonic speeds over the countryside. The water of the lake around the city it's there and it's gone again in an instant. plains and rolling hills roll by for a moment, and then suddenly it's forest everywhere. And the trees are just running underneath you at an amazing speed. And then it starts to slow, and a road becomes apparent, which is a very uncommon thing in Faythen'oc, your good quality roads. And he pulls on the reins, and the eagles bring you down and land upon the road at a small village. You've traveled about 1.7 thousand miles.
Not bad.
And how long?
In a space of a few minutes. The speed you were going at was just unreal. Unrealistic. Nothing really could move that way. It defied all laws of physics. You land next to a statue of the guy who is pulling, or who has been leading the eagle train. And as you do, you sort of feel yourself drop a couple feet to the ground and land in a crouch as the entire array, eagles and chariot, all becomes incorporeal and then vanishes from sight. As bards, you guys know that an incredible amount of energy was channeled to accomplish this. This probably dimmed the belief lines running through the city quite a bit, and probably will continue to have repercussions for weeks to come before they can recover the reservoirs. Basically, they're sparing no expense here. They're considering your mission to be top priority, and they're not willing to, pinch pennies on getting this shit done.
Yeah, I'll just kind of look over at Drava and I'll say, well, they really wanted to get us here.
This must be important.
The village you're in looks like a little trade hub. Lots of little woodland paths lead away from it, but there's a nice cluster of buildings with shops and things here. And then there's the main road, which leads north and south. You just came from the south. North presumably lies the Empire. A couple caravans are stopped here along the road to take advantage of the local shops and inns. It looks like a lot of the game trails that lead out into the woods probably lead to expert craftsmen. You're guessing loggers, anyone who does like furniture, barrels, things like that. The tradesmen seem to be bringing in large quantities of food and taking out small quantities of expertly crafted equipment. Few of them seem interested in going deeper into Faythen'oc. This seems to be their major port of call. Jackie.
Yes.
Outside your shop, you hear quite a ruckus, and a giant chariot led by a pair of flying, glowing eagles with granite wings comes just sailing out of the sky at supersonic speeds, lands gracefully, and then vanishes, depositing 3 people on the ground in front of a statue of the great traveler that all the merchants admire and sort of pay homage to before they begin and after they end their travels.
Do I recognize this weird bird chariot thing?
You totally do. From Legends of the Great Traveler, this is how he got around. Was on a chariot pulled by a pair of golden eagles with granite wings.
Sick. Yeah, I'm gonna jot that down in my sketchbook.
You haven't ever really seen him manifested that gratuitously before, but you've seen smaller versions of him appear to bless travelers before they go on adventures.
Yeah, I'm gonna whip up a little composition for a large, majestic golden eagle piece.
All right. While you're doing that, the 3 men seem very disoriented, but yeah. Currently, you're sort of the main person looking out at them and making sketches. The rest of the town is currently kind of relaxed. It's noon. There's not a lot of activity. So the people who were arriving or leaving did that in the morning. There probably will be more arrivals at night, but here in the noon time, there's not a lot of activity.
I feel like being Phaethon, I'm not totally like phased by like outsiders or newcomers. I'm more interested in like the cool magic shit that we do. I'll give them a cursory glance. I'm like, oh hey, let me know if you guys want anything.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. To the Faythen'oc, travelers are an opportunity for greatness.
So this person just says to us, "Let me know if you need anything." Is it?
Yep.
Yep.
Is this
like you can see me like furiously sketching like a fucking badass like eagle chariot. And there's a giant flashing magic sign above the shop that says tattoo.
I'm like, you do tattoos.
Yep.
Like, may I see your drawing?
I turn it around.
One of the things that you immediately notice is that the drawing is animated, although she's using what appears to be just normal ink. But there is the eagle's feathers occasionally flutter. The wings occasionally take a beat.
And you see a soft glow of like sunbeams peeking through clouds in the background.
The characters on it occasionally blink.
I was like, you are a heroic tattoo artist.
Damn straight.
I was kind of nod. I'll be like, yes, I will have one of your tattoos.
Good. Come on in. I usher him into the shop. It is I'm trying to think what it would be like in there, if it would be loud or if it'd be quiet. Probably loud. It's fucking Phaethon. You hear the sound of an elephant trumpeting, and you're not certain that makes any sense until you see a man who's laying up flat on his stomach, and there's a giant fucking like stampeding elephant tattoo on his back. It is heavily armored.
That's pretty cool. I was kind of nod along at this point. I realize I've just kind of signed up for whatever the hell happens. So I'm like, all right, cool.
Well, what do you have? What's your favorite story? What resonates with you?
Well, I just flew about several thousand miles on a chariot. That was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be badass. I mean, I was just getting started on this thing, but you give me a little while and I can whip you something up.
Sure. Yeah, take all the time you need. We're on a very urgent journey, so I guess not all the time you need, but I understand that. A great works take time.
Oh, no worries. I'm pretty quick.
While you're in her tattoo parlor, actually, that's a great question. What is your character's gender?
I was just going to go with female.
Okay. While you're in her tattoo parlor, you do notice that she has examples on the walls, almost all of which are animated. But there are a few that are not, and being the few things that are not animated causes them to catch your eye. As a trained bard, you notice that there are some sample tattoos that are scripts that are written in the bard-only language, that there's no way this hero actually knows how to read. But they're there as example tattoos, probably from something she's done before on several people, and so she has an example on her wall because she had to do it several times.
Right. What do they say?
They are poems regarding a feat of great destruction. These are basically notes, and all of them have inscribed into them a cipher that you're familiar with, which indicates coordinates. You would know how to navigate to those coordinates as soon as you can see the nighttime sky.
Okay, I'd just like to kind of write those down in my journal.
Troy, what are you doing?
So what do we need to do in this? Was there anything we needed to get in this town, or we were just starting here before we went out, right?
This town is very close to the site where Daru was killed.
Okay, it's the closest place we could get to.
To pick up the trail and try
Reasonably.
and figure out what happened to her and where her shield is and why it was not recovered on her body.
Okay, but we don't know exactly where, right?
You do have a document that said that Daru lived on a sort of ranch in the woods with her husband, Cass, and their 5 children.
Okay. Can I go around town and ask people if they know of a home in the forest, I guess?
Absolutely. What is your connections?
4.
Do you have advantage or anything that would improve your threshold? Right now you've got 1 success, but 2 of the dice are 5s. So if your threshold is improved by 1, you have 3 successes.
Yeah, well, I would say considering the other bard just stepped away and is, we may have a good amount of time to do this. I'm assuming I can say I'm being thorough, and I'm going to be just going from person to person, as many people as I can talk to and ask them what they know.
Okay, yeah. Good job. Good use of that. So, right, you find that there is a sort of caretaker here. He's a bard, an old bard, kind of retired, no longer travels. But he is a caretaker of a historical site, which is nearby, which fits the description of the farmhouse, the ranch that Daru came from.
It's a historical site? Like it's not someone's house now?
Right. Is
Okay.
now a historical site, and this guy seems to be an expert on the subject. He's easy to find. He is in a tavern, sort of strumming on a lute, but he's not the main event. He's just kind of he's watching as an actual musician bard plays and just trying to kind of pick along with the tune in a back corner. The guy looks to be pretty old. Scarred, he's seen some shit, but he is a bard. He's got the spark. You can tell he has the psychic sense.
Okay. So the other Heldrins and the tattoo shop, where is the tea maker at the moment?
That's a great question. So, where is Musashi? Having gotten down off of the chariot, and having one of the bards just walk into a tattoo parlor, and the other one go off canvassing, where would you like to make tea?
I guess I will follow the heat train into the tattoo parlor.
Okay. The tattoo artist is, of course, of stunning skill. Yeah. You've seen tattoos before, and you've even seen tattoos that move before, but never at this level. Presumably. I haven't actually looked at your character sheet. I'm just assuming that within a couple sessions you'll be rolling 10 dice for any tattoos you do.
Pretty much. I'm pretty much done with distributing points with the exception of like some talents here and there. And I need to just get in there and start reading a few of those real quick.
Yeah, there's some artistry talents that are really awesome.
Honestly, one thing that I am going to just like be upfront about, scholarship is going to be one of my highest skills, along with artistry.
Oh, cool. Okay. You there's a very good chance then that you know a lot about the historical site nearby.
Yeah. Scholarship is super high because as some like basically in the profession you need to have like a massive like visual and metaphorical library. Like somebody says, "I want this," you need to know what it looks like, why it looks like that, what's the story behind it, who did what great deed, and so on.
Excellent. Well, the bard who's come into your shop to get a tattoo is being accompanied by a man who appears to be carrying a giant tea kettle on his back. Or I guess it's a teapot and the kettle's under your staff.
I'm like having a walking stick where the front of it has a teapot on the back, and the stick has like a lantern, and then I have a humped back because that's where I keep my bowl for drinking from.
And I'll introduce him. I'll say, so this is my friend Masashi, or it's Masashi, right?
Hi.
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, this is my friend Masashi. He is my my companion on this journey. I'll say, and what is your name, good tattoo artist?
Venatori.
Yes. It's great to meet you, Venatori. You are both great heroes. You know, the greatest of your craft.
Thank you.
You flatter me.
So
Since
what brings you to our hub?
Yes, you must try Masashi's tea. It is remarkable. It is like nothing I've had before.
Does it give you the jitters? I'm not sure if I want to, right before I, stick you.
I've had my tea creating great resolution in many people before. Depends on what kind of herbs and spices I put in the tea.
If you've got anything that helps with focus, that's what I will be using. It takes an enormous amount of concentration to do what I do.
Yes, of course.
Fuck yeah, give me drugs.
All right. Which ingredients are you going to use? I presume you're going to make her. You're going to use your alchemy to make her a supernatural tea that bonuses her focus and gives steady hands.
Yeah. So I don't know how many times I can use this stuff.
The dragon liver is like a one-off. You can use it basically once.
And I'm going to, and I currently do not have an. Is that like used for which part of the alchemy? Is it the base, the reagent, or the container?
In this case, it's a reagent.
So yeah, I just need a container.
Which basically means a cup. You need a cup to serve it in.
Oh, I guess I'll use my tea set for that, which is quality 8.
Yep.
So I'm going to be the base is going to be the pumpkin. Though I'm going to use the dragon for the reagent in my tea set as the holder, as a container.
Excellent. And then, of course, we're using your, I guess, alchemy is your crafting. And then which
yes.
aptitude?
Empathy.
Yes, because it's tea.
Yeah, because the pumpkin and the liver are both quality 10, and the heirloom tea set is quality 8. Because on the alchemy thing, it says like a rare and historic are like -2 and -3. I'm not sure what those mean, but
Okay, so you roll 6 dice. And then you have a bonkers load of pips here.
and I'll be spending an adventuring. Oh no, what's it called? a survival to make it to give the grill master.
Okay, let's see. So you right now are sitting on, it looks like 11 successes, if I'm doing my math right. Now, you can give her amazing focus, but she's quite right that caffeinating her will make her hands jittery. They won't be. She'll have mental focus, but her hands will lose agility. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to probably bonus her focus and agility in equal measure.
Okay.
So I would rule that in total, without affecting her hands, you can give her a +6 to her roll.
Okay, I can do that.
As well as anyone else who drinks this tea, if they're doing a focus-based task. It's very good tea.
Cool.
Yeah, the main thing that just like knocked that out of the park was the dragon liver as a reagent. Being an eldritch reagent, it gives its bonus in successes instead of dice. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. All right, so Jackie, you are tattooing. What magical properties did you want to try and pursue in putting this tattoo on him?
It's actually up to the customer.
Oh.
I did not anticipate that.
I mean, it is of like a badass golden eagle chariot thing. So, I mean, you could go with something like swiftness or, I don't know, speed or stamina. There's lots of like, think kind of more like powerful and shit, you know?
Yeah, I suppose swiftness is probably what's gonna. I mean, honestly, I came to get a tattoo purely for intel gathering purposes. So whatever bonus I actually get out of this is pure gravy to me. So let's go with swiftness.
All right, I'm gonna give you 3 variations on swiftness to choose between. There is basically exploration swiftness. It's not that you're swift in a dead sprint. It's just you know how to navigate, and you're able to get through terrain extra fast. So this tattoo, when looked upon, would bonus any rolls you make on exploration. There's athletic swiftness. You just run fast in a straight line. And there's acrobatic swiftness. Dodging to and fro.
Let's go acrobatic swiftness.
And so this thing has to be visible in order to initiate?
Yes. Someone has to look at it in order for him to trigger the ability.
I hope you're ready to like tear your shirt off or your sleeve or something.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which, like, where do you want it?
Actually, let's go athletic. Let's go to athletic swiftness, and let's put it just right on my arm, right on my right arm.
Perfect.
Just the side of the face.
Yeah, the old Mike Tyson.
All right, I need to know how many dice you're rolling for this, Jackie.
Okie dokie. Give me a second. It's going to be like artistry and focus, right? Plus whatever dice I got from Tice.
Plus the 6 dice from Tice, and then if you have any pips from your equipment.
I haven't written that into my sheet yet, but let's assume that I have a kit that's Q6.
Okay. So you have a Q6 needle. And then you're going to
Well,
also need...
needles are like one-time use, so it's like.
Okay.
But we don't have to get that granular. Maybe everybody can have hepatitis if they want.
Inscription is built on 3 things: the pen, the ink, and the stock. In this case, the stock is Miles. There's no getting around that. The ink is going to be your Q6 ink kit that you carry with you, and the pen, your Q6 pen, unless you're spending a renown to get fancy things.
I had set aside 2 renown just in case I needed to get like a kit and then ink or something like that.
Like
Okay.
the,
I don't know if I am allowed to have like the whole setup as like one item.
Yeah, I mean, it means you have less in the way of either resources or connections. But yeah, that's the trade-off you're allowed.
All right, so I'll just put down kit for now. Just imply that it has everything in there. It'll be Q6.
It's Q6 if you're not spending the renown. Is that
if I spend the renown, it's 8, yeah?
correct?
Q8 then.
All right.
So it's 8 dice plus 6 with Q8 pips for my kit. So like a crap ton of dice, basically.
Yeah, it's a crap ton, all right. Okay, Miles, you have a brand new tattoo. This tattoo has the following property. You may activate it as a power by showing it to somebody. If that somebody is a Faythen'oc, then you spend 5 stamina, because it's like basically a supernatural ability, like a spell. Spend 5 stamina to activate it, and it will give you 6 bonus dice to any action that relates to athletics and speed. It's got to be both athletics and speed. It gives you a burst of speed for 5 stamina. If the person looking at it is not Faythen'oc, then it gives you 3. So it's half power of the person who sees it is not Faythen'oc. And but if somebody is Faythen'oc, they culturally recognize the symbol, and it gets extra energy.
Cool. All right.
As a special feature, as a bard, you can, upon revealing it, spend the stamina and opt not to activate the ability, but instead store that belief for use in your own spells. This is something special because you are a bard.
All right, cool. All right, and while basically while this is being organized and before it's being engraved, I'd like to kind of talk to Venatori. Just kind of shoot the breeze a little bit and mention that I'm actually here on a quest.
Oh, I do love a good quest. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, well, apparently there was a great hero who fell here named Daru. And I'm here to tell her tale, to learn what came of her, so that her exploits can be properly recorded in history.
Jackie, you've heard the name Daru before. Most of the bards who come here to visit the historical site come back talking about Daru.
I start shooting the shit and say like, oh yeah, a bunch of people come through for that hero. I've heard plenty of tales if you want to know what I've heard.
Yeah, I would.
There's a reasonable chance, Jackie, that you actually have a drawing you've done of Daru, who was a warrior who she was known for wielding a hammer and shield in battle, and she was known for traveling north into the Empire to try and fight against their practice of slavery.
Does she have like long flowy hair?
If you want her to.
I'm just
pictures,
asking.
yeah.
I'm just asking because it would be blowing in the wind. Well, she's
Absolutely.
got like her hammer and shield aloft and stuff. I'm like, yeah. I just like tilt my head and gesture towards the like wall where a lot of the artwork is posted. And say like, yeah, I've done a couple like that. And I imagine you recognize her from the shield in particular.
Yeah, basically, I'm gonna hyper focus in on the shield, and I'll say, how specific is your recollection of this shield? Have you seen the shield yourself? Was it told to you by somebody else?
Yeah, all the details that I know about it are a collection of varying stories that I've heard from people coming through. I haven't checked myself, but I mean, like, I'm gonna ask Dave, I guess, like, is there a consistent description of it, or is it vague where I don't have exact, like, I have basically unlimited.
Most of the descriptions, because they're Faythen'oc, are descriptions of what it does rather than how it looks. They're descriptions of, it's the shield that when she held it in front of her, none can pass. Broadly speaking, you generally hear more descriptions of it as a round shield than any other shape. But that has not always been true. You've seen artists that have depicted it as a kite shield. But most of the time you hear it described as she held the circle of her shield aloft, kind of thing.
Cool. So I describe it as a very likely circular shield.
Meanwhile, in a different place, you've encountered the caretaker.
All alone. What was this guy's name?
I just wrote down caretaker. Let me go give him a name.
I was unsure if you said one. And I missed it, that's why I was asking.
His name is now Caretaker Panarin. He's made no indication that he's seen you, but you consider it incredibly unlikely that that's the case. Given how old he is, he's probably an experienced bard, and he's probably sensed your mind present on the field of psychic energy since you arrived.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'm just gonna approach him directly. Just kind of sidestepping people and like not running into anyone, like kind of like not beelining for him, just kind of like weaving in and out of people throughout the tavern to get to him. I'm assuming it's kind of like a busy place.
It is, and there's another much younger bard up on the stage performing, singing and telling tales of great deeds. The audience is a bit sparse, actually. It's not a huge crowd, but it's they're all into it. They're really excited and enjoying the music. When you get close to him, you notice very, very subtle threads of psychic energy coming out of him that look like they're controlling the lighting to make the lighting a little more dramatic on the stage. Basically, he's given the youngster a hand.
It's good. I'm gonna basically stand to his kind of like just within his vision for a moment before addressing him and see if he looks at me first.
He doesn't look at you, but after a couple seconds, he just says, "No need for formalities here. I'm retired."
Just didn't want to break your concentration.
He
Take it you're
he chuckles at that. The kindness of the young ones.
Panarin, right?
Aye, 'tis me.
Panarin, or did I say Panarin? Which one?
Panarin.
Panarin. I was told you're a caretaker of a historic site near here.
Yeah. Keep the grounds tidy, so to speak. Least I can do in my old age.
Did you take care of it alone, or does anybody assist you?
Oh no, youngsters come through here. I make them help out. Knowledge ain't free, of course. We all got to pay the price. The price is diligence.
Wise words.
Yeah, you leave a scroll alone, it'll rot. You got to make a copy every few years. It's how we keep the knowledge.
So, yeah, I'm gonna be as direct now as possible. What's her name? The
Daru.
Daru. Totally note failing. I'm getting back to it. So I'm traveling with others in pursuit of Daru's shield. Do you know of its whereabouts? Is it at the historic site?
It's not. She didn't have it when she came back. I'll happy to show you where she fell, of course.
You know where?
Oh, aye, and the sun is high. We got yet time if you want to see. Put markers there, I did. Had a lot of good help that day. Young bard named Harving. We did a lot of markers, took a lot of notes. I got no problem showing you Daru.
That would be great.
You get the impression from this guy that he didn't just take care of this place, but given his age and sort of the tone of his voice when he's talking, you think he may have actually witnessed Daru's body when she originally died.
How old does he seem?
The events of Daru's death was only about 20 years ago.
Oh, okay. He wouldn't have to be that.
Nah, this guy's probably in like late 60s, early 70s from your judgment.
Yeah. But he speaks of it as if like it's part of his history and not part of history.
Right. Whereas a lot of the other people here that speak of it as part of history, to him it's something he witnessed. You also, and this is a psychic sense, when he mentions being happy to show you Daru, you feel a block in his mind as though he's happy to show you that, just not something else.
He's happy to show what he's talking, so he's hiding something.
He's hiding something, but it's not what you're talking about. It's he's happy to show you that because that means he doesn't have to show you something else.
Okay. I mean, that's what I'm after, so.
All right.
Yeah, if you could show the way.
So he strums a few notes, and you see it almost like a message being delivered to the guy on stage. The guy starts kind of sweating a little bit as he picks up the slack that the old man was taking care of.
Poor Bard.
Yeah.
Go, kitty, go.
And then sit. Oh my God, she sat. No. Don't sit on the keyboard. Okay, that will do. So the bard, he's ready to basically tromp off into the woods with you if you want to go. He does not know that you have companions, so unless you tell him or you go and get your companions, he's just going to wander off into the woods with you.
I'm trying to decide if I want them to know. Or more so that I don't want to wait. Is he basically he's just ready to go?
Yep. It's like noon, so there's plenty of daylight left.
Okay. I'll let him know I arrived here with 2 others. I would at least like one of them to accompany us.
He says, all right.
As they have more of the knowledge of what we're dealing with. Which is wrong.
Go fetch him then. Meet me at the edge of the woods. I don't have the legs for gallivanting all over town right now, but I'll be at the I'll be at the sorry, not the northern. I'll be at the western edge of the village.
Understood. I will retrieve him as fast as possible. And I'll take a note of where I'm supposed to meet him and then head over to the last I saw of the Eldred.
All right, so Miles, you finished recording all of the information and getting a pretty awesome little magical tattoo. It's incredibly powerful, but a dragon was killed to make this tattoo, so
We'll make it worth it.
yeah. All right.
All right, and I'll say, Venatori, are you familiar with these symbols?
You are, I presume, gesturing to the writing on the walls?
Yes.
Well, insofar as that only bards seem to get it, not sure what the fuss is all about, but I do like a good letter form.
I'll say, yes, I am a bard. And yeah, it is, this is our script. These are coordinates.
Really?
Yeah.
She's very interested.
Yeah, I'll say I intend to travel to these coordinates. And have you ever heard anyone reference this fact? Has anyone ever spoken of this? Perhaps the person who originally
First I've heard of it.
had this tattoo?
This is first I've heard of it. If you don't mind, I'd like to go with you. Anything I can find out about what people are getting, that's good for me to know.
Sure. Yeah, certainly. I think we could use the presence of someone who knows of Daru. I think that could only help us.
Yeah, I'd be happy to go.
Around this time, your companion comes into the shop.
That being Draven?
That'd be Draven. Draven.
Both work.
One of them. I like Draven because it sounds like Raven, because I think he's Raven mad.
That's a better way. I like that.
I just think of the crow.
I presumably can see the tattoo.
Yes. It is glowing with magical energy. Yeah.
It's also a little swollen and irritated.
The magic took a roundabout way of getting there. Tice took a piece of dragon, brewed it into tea, fed it to a tattoo artist, who then tattooed onto a bard, and now that magic from the dragon is embedded in the bard.
Still counts.
Still counts.
It's very interesting.
I'll say, Draven, this is our other companion. He is my fellow bard. We are we have been tasked with this journey together.
Wonderful. Ah, 2 bards. Must be auspicious.
And I'll say, Draven, this is Venatori. As you can see, she's an excellent tattoo artist, and as is our luck, she is aware of the story of Daru, and we have been provided with coordinates that may help us in our journey.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share some of my drafts with you if it helps.
So I listen to everything, and then I address Heldrin and say, "This one will also be joining us."
So yes, this is a hero that I believe may be of aid to our cause.
Very good. I have a gentleman waiting for us to take us to the historic site, or not the historic site, but where we need to be.
Ah, perfect. That is most excellent. I suppose we should move along then.
All right. So the 4 of you proceed out to the western edge. The sun is still high in the sky. You probably spent maybe like 1 p.m. now. You spent like an hour doing. I'm sure real tattoos take an amazing amount of time, but you have supernatural abilities.
Yeah, like a shitload of time. Like in real life, that would take like 20 hours probably.
Yeah. Supernatural ability and also some really, really jacked up tea. Like,
And fucking magic.
He turned dragon into tea. I thought that was going to be one of those items that he was going to be like saving forever, and then he's just like, nope.
Yeah. I didn't for a second think he'd use it for this, but I was like, all right, man, fuck yeah.
I like this though. It's like, don't you play the Final Fantasy game and you end up at the end of the game with like 1 million mega elixirs because they're too precious to use. Like no, throw that shit down.
Yeah, you got to make the best tea every time with all the best ingredients that you have.
See, that's why he's a hero. So you proceed into the woods, probably for another, I'd say, hour's worth of hiking. The paths here, while they're dirt paths, they're frequently trodden. So they're not exactly well maintained. It's just lots of people using them have kept them pretty packed down. And then you kind of get a change in the air. You're coming to a place that is different than the other places in the woods. You can't see any difference yet, but you can almost smell it. There's something different here. And then there's a bright orange paint mark on a tree, and past that, just a terribly short distance, you see a skeleton in the ground.
What's on the tree?
An orange marker intended to draw your attention to it so that you would know that you've arrived. It's basically just paint. It's like a little orange piece of paint that was there to mark that this is where the site begins, basically.
I see. What does the smell like? Because I'm super smell.
You have keen smell, don't you?
Yeah, keen smell and keen taste.
This is the smell of an old battlefield. It's what happens when you have thousands of rotting corpses and then 20 years of time for the smell to dissipate so that normal people don't notice.
Oh, okay.
The bard is just walking straight past you. Caretaker Panarin just walks straight on past the skeleton and on down the path. But he does kind of comment over his shoulder and says, watch your step from here on out. The further in you go, the more closely packed the skeletons become. You start to see them in groups, all just kind of lying on the ground wherever they lay. And They're old. These are old bones. But there are markers on them. Little orange stripes are near all of them, marked on trees or on sticks that have been driven into the ground. If any characters here have any investigation, you might recognize this as a sort of forensic technique for trying to piece together what happened during the battle. Anybody here actually have points in investigation?
I have 2.
I only have 1.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Troy, you recognize this. A lot of these markers have meanings aside from just, hey, look at me. They have to do with, like, where they're placed shows the direction that the person fell, and other bits of information are kind of encoded onto them in smaller marks that are hard to notice unless you get up close and really pay attention. It looks like this has been a thoroughly investigated battleground.
Wonderful.
All of the corpses that you've seen so far are human.
Okay.
Most of them have, like, rusted out pieces of armor around them, but not all of them. Some of them are just skeletons in the dirt.
Does it look like the bones have been all disturbed, or do they look like they kind of like are a person that has fallen in that way? Like bones have been moved around? Like more than normal, like weather would have done?
Close examination of a skeleton reveals that some reconstructive work has been done. So the bones have been moved around, but they've been moved around to try to reconstruct the skeleton from shattered parts. You can see places where ribs were glued back on to try and identify what type of attack might have shattered out a rib cage or snapped a spine. Forensic work has been done here, and it was done in the field by experts.
Seems very unusual for a battlefield.
Yes, very unusual. You get to a point where you can see off to the right, there's a little bit of a clearing that's not in the direction you're heading, and there is what looks like a incredibly deep crater that's then been grown over with grass and moss, and on the other side of it are the shattered remnants of what may have once been a farmhouse. It's mostly just wooden beams splayed to the side in the general shape of what would have once been the frame of a farmhouse, and then bits of stone and shingle just littering the landscape as though a blast erupted from inside the house. A couple times now, the caretaker has had to hop over little cracks and crevices in the ground. These seem to go unnaturally deep, deeper than you would expect out of a normal piece of terrain. And the bottom almost shines like there's something reflective down below. Not the bright kind of shine of gold, but the dark kind of shine of obsidian. You're betting that if it was any later in the evening, the shadows cast would have prevented the sunlight from reflecting that way.
Oh, you wouldn't be able to see these holes, is that what you mean? Or
you wouldn't be able to see that there's something shining back from the bottom.
Gotcha.
And then you come upon a place where there is a much more dramatic marker. Here there's no body, but is instead a almost plaque kind of embedded into the ground with a depiction carved in it that Heldren, you recognize as being very good quality. An expert carved this picture, which details information about where a body was found. In its place, a mannequin, a wooden mannequin, has been laid down where the body would have been. And yeah, there's a sort of a fake wooden spear in its hands. And yeah, it's the first not an actual human corpse that you've encountered.
Okay, so it has a spear in its hand, but not a hammer or a shield.
Correct. The plaque indicates that this was one of Daru's daughters.
Okay, I'll just kind of nod. I'll just kind of recite that back. I'll say, Daru's daughter fell here.
One of them, yes. The caretaker says she had 3 daughters and 2 sons. One of her daughters fell here. As far as we can tell, she fell in single combat. But it's, again, very hard to discern through the age of it. We expect that she had been doing guerrilla tactics here, that she killed most of the bodies that we've seen on our way here, but then encountered someone she couldn't defeat. If we push on, Daru is not too much further.
Yes, let's continue.
And so pushing on after another about 5 minutes, you come to another similar plaque with a similar mannequin. This mannequin they have holding a wooden hammer, but no shield. And he says, "This is where I found her." Now, the landscape around this body is kind of nonsense. You can see lots of old growth that has been knocked down and new growth growing up around it. So it looks like most of the trees in this area were knocked over in whatever fight ensued here, and that new growth is growing up on top of those trees, young saplings, very short, only about 20 years worth of growth. Also, the ground looks to have been heavily disturbed. Rocks thrown about. There's just like tracks that look like they were dug into the ground by something incredibly heavy, almost like the hand of a giant scooped a piece of the earth and threw it. And there's several of these in all directions around the corpse. Or well,
are they in
around
any
the mannequin.
particular pattern? Like, do they look like, say, a wide stance of 2 feet being dragged? Or, like, what's the shape of these drags?
The shape actually, it almost looks conical, like it got wider the further away from her it got.
I see.
For Heldren, this is consistent with the document that said that she was renowned for being able to strike the ground with her hammer, causing shock waves to ripple away from it, knocking her foes off their feet. You kind of heard that and thought that it was, I mean, you're Faythen'oc. You know that people can be enchanted to do that by bards. You're surprised at the scale of it. You're not sure that you expected her to have gotten the shockwaves that far, or for them to have furrowed up that much earth.
Yeah, okay, so I'll just kind of look at the plaque and I'll say, like, to the caretaker, I'm impressed. She put up a remarkable fight. This is an interesting plaque. Who engraved these plaques?
I did. With some help, of course.
I'll say, well, you are a fine engraver, for whatever that's worth.
Oh, thank you, son. We learn our tricks as we go.
I'll say, and so how did you know what to engrave here? Was the story told to you? Were you here to witness it?
I came shortly after the events, heard the ruckus from the town, came out to find the battlefield as it lay. Most of what the events we've discerned here, we picked out from years of piecing together the forensics. Bards come out here all the time and help me out. Study the positions of things, try and work out exactly what happened. It's a hard thing, figuring out exactly what went down. For example, We're pretty sure when she got to this point, she'd already seen the corpses of 2 of her daughters, but we don't know if she knew what happened to the 3rd. We also don't know if she'd seen yet what happened to her son.
What happened to them?
For a moment, you see the psychic wall in his mind go up. It's like a little barrier, and then he just very calmly says, well, they were killed, of course.
He's their dad. Probably.
And I'll say, that is a tragic tale. I'll say, so when she was found here, she was found with her hammer alone, correct?
Correct. Which was given to her one surviving son.
Of course, I believe I've heard of this hammer. The Mother of Mountains, is that right? Is that right?
Magdaru. Yeah. The Mountain of Daru. The mountain of his mother.
Interesting. So, and shield, there was no shield present here, correct?
That's right. Though legend says she carried one, it won't here. Now, what we do see, as we look to the north, she came here a-running. And she came here a-running real fast. Like, she knew what was going on. That these, and he sort of, he looks like he wants to kick at a corpse, but he's too well disciplined to disturb any of the evidence. He says, these here Empire fellers, they'd planned this, I'm sure. And she got wind of their plan, came at their heels. She took a few of them down. That's a fact. From the evidence, you believe that to be a dramatic understatement. You're pretty sure she took several of them down. Like a battalion, possibly. Out of the corner of your eye, you catch a piece of orange high up in the air, and when you turn to look at it, you realize that there's a very carefully reconstructed corpse up in a tree.
Yeah, I'll just point it down. I'll say, I suppose that's one of the few she took down, yeah?
Looks about right, though it's hard to tell on account of the other blast.
What other blast?
You see the sort of, again, the mental walls in his mind trying to form up. He's back at the farmhouse. Another big explosion. Maybe the father's work before he went down. Maybe.
All right, so I'll just say, like, I sense that you're protecting something. That there is, and I'm sure you have good reason. You know, you have been placed here as the protector of Dara's legacy, and I respect that.
Yeah, you're not the first to sense it. It's a habit, an instinct of mine. We can sit down and unravel it if you've got the time. You want to go dive in my head, I don't mind. Serves the cause.
I believe that the outcome of our journey depends on knowing everything we can possibly know about Daria.
Hey, I'm an old man. I'm not insulted by it. Plenty of youngsters have come in wanting to head dive me before. I just gotta warn you. My instincts keep the shield raised for a reason.
Just curious, exactly which, like, where do you know where she was coming from? Where she was running from?
She was definitely coming from the north, from the Empire. Heard tell she liked to go up there try and free slaves.
I see. Do you know of any towns that are nearby up north that she might have been in?
Yeah, they don't call them towns; they call them provinces, but it's mostly the same. Got some farming going on up there. Raise pig, sheep, do some good work. They don't cook it well as we do, but they sure do raise more of it.
Yes, and even though they're barbaric, I hear that they honor the ways of the tea making.
Ha! That they do. Can't get enough of this stuff. And they sure do like them tattoos you make, young miss. You've lived in the town with this guy, so you know he's just generally likes to compliment the locals. He's one of those support the local shop kind of guys.
Thanks very much, sir.
Yeah, I'll kind of flex my arm a little bit. And I'll say, yes, I'm very pleased with the tattoo that I received.
At some point, I would also like to get one.
He looks at the tattoo and says, "Hot damn, you've outdone yourself again." It's really hard to tell if he's being genuine, though, because he basically says that every time. But as a Faythen'oc, you kind of assume that you're always doing the most amazing thing at any given moment. So, it's fair enough.
You're only as good as your last piece.
Yeah, tea-making tattoo. That would be awesome.
Oh, it wouldn't be for tea making.
Do you guys want to do a psychic dive into this guy's head out here, or do you want to explore a little bit first?
I don't see the harm in exploring a little bit first.
Yeah,
Okay.
And then we can go back to his place, have a little tea, and just like relax before he.
In total, you find, let's see. In total, you find 6 locations where the bodies have been removed. These are the 6 Faythen'oc. All of the other corpses are Empire, and their bodies have been left where they lie. The 6 Faythen'oc have been taken to a local cemetery to be given tombs of honor to be exalted for their grand deeds. But the markers, the mannequin markers, have remained as sort of a testament to what they did. All 3 of the daughters were out in the woods, apparently doing some kind of guerrilla just harassment of enemy lines using javelins. There does not appear to be any supernatural activity surrounding what they were doing. Just lots and lots of corpses of people that seem to have been caught by surprise. Stealth kind of attacks. The kind of thing that Draven would definitely approve of. The mother, of course, you've already seen. And then back at the farmhouse, there's 2 of these bodies. The father and one of Daru's sons. So the father is basically in an area where all the trees are just knocked down around him, and nothing's been able to grow since. It's like a sort of a dead zone. And there are cracks in the earth coming out from the middle of him. He has like basically a great axe clutched in his hand, or at least the wooden approximation of one. You have no idea what his abilities may have been, but the cracks in the ground are pretty indicative of damage happening in some direction.
Oh, do they is it burned at all near the center? Does it radiate outwards from the center?
It radiates out, and it looks like nothing has grown since. Like, growth paused. The moss hasn't recovered, and it's been 20 years.
So is it just like stone, basically like dry?
Yeah, dry, brittle, no new growth, and the old growth stopped.
Can I investigate the center of the impact point or whatever the center is?
Yes.
I do that.
What is your investigation?
3.
Nice. And what other aptitude are you using here?
Probably focus if I have some time. Which is
Yeah,
also
you have time. Focus is good.
Yep, 3. Focus, 3 investigation.
All right,
Yeah.
6 dice.
And I will assist her after that with my smelling, and if there's anything, I might like taste a little bit of the ground to see like what the composite. It's like
Okay.
Weird.
Yeah, we can do this as sort of a collaborative thing. And Tice, you have pips for your smelling, right?
Yeah, I have pips for my smelling, and if I need to, I have pips for tasting.
Probably not wise to taste anything out here, but smelling will definitely help.
Yeah.
Let's see, your investigation is 0, but your focus is a 2.
Shark's freaking me out.
And 4 pips. What's freaking you out?
Shark.
The shirt?
Oh,
Shark.
no.
Oh, the
Right.
shark. Oh, cool.
This one's one of my favorites. The booty.
That's cool. That's cool.
If I can help one day I tattoo this on somebody. Or this sick fucking panther. That'd be tight.
This is really awesome. Those are the ones you're getting ready for Friday?
Dude, I don't know, man. Like, if some of them were more expensive, then maybe, because they're kind of fucking big. Like, the koi fish is fucking big. Like, this thing is fucking big.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of detail there.
I would not charge only like $40 for that. That would be a fucking steal. Literally a steal.
All right, in total, the two of you put together 6 successes there.
Right. What do we find out about this this impact point?
The impact is off-center. You don't think it was caused by this guy.
By the person?
Yeah. You don't think it was caused. You think the person was already dead when the impact occurred, and it occurred off-center, and possibly nudged him slightly.
And what's the makeup of the inside of these fissures?
The inside of the fissures, it looks like there's like little fragments of glass, as though a very hot temperature was applied to sand or mud, but not in a consistent way. Like it was energy dancing across the field.
Perfect. We know exactly what happened here then.
So like something that something got fired into the place and exploded.
Something with the heat of fire, but yeah, but with the lack of direction of lightning.
Yeah. Something called down lightning to this spot, which is unusual because it's flat here.
Does the Empire also have great heroes?
Nope. They have people that are strong or clever, but they don't have great heroes. There's another body that is in the ruins of the house.
Well, I guess we go look at that one too.
This is probably the second youngest body that you found. The youngest being one of the daughters out in the woods, but this would be the second youngest. This was one of Daru's sons, wielding a sword. He appears to have been defending the house as the last line of defense, and he fell in battle. It does not look like he fell in battle in single combat. It looks like he was surrounded, that somebody broke in through a window got inside behind him, and that he was stabbed from behind while facing multiple threats from the front.
I see. I'm curious, exactly how did the last son survive this? Was he not here at the time?
The character says, "Oh yeah, he was here, right in the middle of the house." Now the house is, like I said, it's just a frame that's knocked over and splinters everywhere. So the amount of detailed work that had to go into figuring out where the bodies were before the blast that knocked the house apart was pretty extensive. And they've got charts that they've kind of inscribed onto the plaque to show where they believe the house and structure stood at the time of the attack, before the explosion happened.
There's not even a consistent foundation for a house kind of thing?
A consistent what?
Like foundation for the house?
The foundation is present, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the top of the house. Basically, everything from about the height of your ankle up has been blown apart. The primary beams that formed the house are still there, but they're knocked over. No, thank you, Note. I don't need any more browser windows open. That was a lovely thought, though. Thank you.
So
if you had Tabby Cat, it'd be over. Just be open and
tabs,
tabs.
all kinds of tabs.
She is a smoky tabby.
So, just using like my weird keen sense for like psychic and belief and whatever, I'd like to kind of, do I sense any like residual energy, like some kind of, Faythen'oc, like belief-based artifact was used here to create this effect?
Yes, you do. Figuring out, though, what exactly it was is going to require a roll.
Yeah, I suspect it was the shields, but I'd like to try to, if there's any way I can attempt to confirm that, I'd like to.
This is definitely your supernatural ability, so what is your potential?
My potential is 3.
You can sense that an artifact or something of incredible power was utilized, but it was not alone. It was triggering other artifacts.
Interesting.
And you sense trace lines going out from it to each of the mannequins that were set up where the family members died. Something inside the house outputted a tremendous amount of power and then touched on each of those mannequins and also on something way up north that is not present on the scene. And there's just a faint, ancient, eroded line of energy trailing there, like the ions left after a bolt of lightning.
Oh, interesting. I'd like to turn to Draven and just say, like, do you sense this? Do you sense the line proceeding from here to the north?
Says, oh, back when it happened, of course, we tried to trace it. Got it as close as we could, recorded the info, but, it's time fades it, and there's no way to follow the trail anymore.
I'll say, well, I believe we have to follow it, so we'll have to find a way.
How far did you get before you lost it?
Pretty deep into the Empire. Some other bards came through here and said they had a better way of tracking it, one where we didn't have to travel. I'm not sure if they were successful or not.
Interesting. Do you know what became of them?
Oh, they finished their training and moved on to other things.
Do you recall their names?
Not rightly. There was a group of them. I might be able to think through it.
Yeah, if you could, that would be very helpful. If not, I understand.
Hell, maybe you can dig it out of me when you're rifling through my head.
Yeah, maybe if we're lucky.
How long ago did they get?
So callous, man.
How long ago did those bards come here? Do you think they might have been the ones that got the tattoos?
Oh yeah, they spent a lot of time in your tattoo parlor. I could call that.
Yeah, they're pretty quiet about what it meant though until today, and that piqued my interest.
So if I kind of cross-reference, like just kind of the faint trail I'm getting, does that roughly correspond with the coordinates that I wrote down from the tattoo shop?
You won't be able to be certain until you can see the nighttime sky. You're going to need to use stars to identify it.
Oh, right. Okay. I'll say, yeah, if those are one and the same, then I believe I may have a way of understanding the location that they were referring to.
Well, and I wish you fellers the best of luck. And he kind of just sits down on a bench. You want to do this here, or where we're closer to where it happened? Think that'll help? Or do you want to head back into town where maybe there'll be some people around in case things go badly?
Yes, maybe somewhere where it's more comfy for you, and I can make us some tea, to relax, keep the nerves.
And might be good to have a bucket of water nearby, I think.
Okay. And yeah, I would like to fetch a tablet while we're in town, so I could make my own engraving for this place.
Fair enough. Then let us head on back. We 5 adventurers. He sort of chuckles. He knows his adventuring days are long over. Back in town then, the sun is now beginning its downward motions. So we're going to have evening come on soon.
So if I remember it, you said Daru had 3 daughters and 2 sons, including Gunther, correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
In fact, I can get you their names. So Daru's, let's see. Her sons were Lucia and Gunther. And then her daughters were Giug, Biob, and Diad.
All right.
Which are, they're interesting names, actually. Whereas Lucia and Gunther are kind of names. They have sort of meanings in antiquity. But the daughters' names are a little bit more literal. Their names are basically translate to wind, rain, and lightning.
Yeah, okay, interesting. I was kind of like mention that offhand a little bit. Like, yeah, that's interesting. They named their daughters after the elements.
A tradition she learned from up north. Not a very Faythen'oc thing to do, more of an imperial thing, but she took a liking to their kind and brought back some of their ways with her.
Maybe they do have some culture worth commemorating. Certainly can't rule it out.
Tice, what manner of tea do you want to brew for this gentleman before he undergoes a psychic surgery attempt?
I'm going to make a nice, what's it called? lavender tea, you know, like one that just like, you know, it's just like, you know, I currently do not have any like special ingredients on me, but I just like definitely still put my energy into making like the most, like, you know, like, put a couple sprinkles of stuff that will like to like help you keep yourself thinking, you know. So.
All right, you do still have a nice tea set. So even though you don't have the fancy ingredients, you do still have some bonuses here. So making some, you said lavender tea?
Yeah.
Okay. During this psychic adventure in his head, you will have 5 dice that you may utilize when you want to. You don't have to use them all at once. They're just a pool of dice sitting there for whenever you need to add them to something you're going to roll. This is from some very nice lavender tea. Are you guys going to go in together, or is one of you going to stay outside of his brain?
I'm open to either.
Would we be aware? Like, would we have done this before?
Probably. Probably not. It's not necessarily true that you would have been trying to remove a psychic block that somebody has in their brain, but you've definitely gone into people's thoughts before just to learn how to do it. Bard school isn't for nothing. Of course, most of what Bard school is teaching you is how to manipulate people's beliefs to create the supernatural effects. But part of that does mean learning some psychic skills. So you have the crash course on how to get into someone's head.
And I believe we both have keen psychic sense, right?
You do, and both of you have a potential of 3. So you've got some dice you can roll.
And I'll say, you know, but we could go in together, or you know, I'm open to doing this however you'd like, Dragon. You know, I'll follow your leader.
Just trying to think we would know if it's not like what dangers are there in doing this?
People are the god of their own mind. When you're inside their domain, they have control. However, most of the time they don't realize it. They let their subconscious rule that domain. Their subconscious can also inflict a great deal of injury on you if it doesn't like what you're doing. But if the person in whose head you're in becomes fully aware of what you're doing and doesn't like it, they can take control of the situation and cause actual physical or psychological damage to you.
All right, so my proposal is we either go in together or you go in, and when I sense there being an issue, I stop the issue from happening further.
Say either of those sounds wise to me. Yeah, I suppose let's start with the latter. I go in there and you know, you can kind of be the lookout if you'd like. Yeah, that works for me.
Once you're in a mind, are you fully embedded into this action? Like it's like entering, like you're not aware of what's going on outside anymore?
Yeah,
Like it's
your sensations are going to be completely overridden by what you're dealing with in there.
okay, but I would be able to sense if there's any turmoil on either side, kind of thing.
From outside, yeah,
Yeah.
you'll have rough senses of whether or not they're in distress, just as you do, like in sensing people who are lying, things like that.
Okay, so if I sense I'll hang back then, and if I sense there's an issue minorly, I can enter, and if there's a major issue, I'll plan on stopping it in some way.
All right. Looks
All
like
right.
Zoning.
I'll say I'm hardy. Don't worry, I'm hardier than I look. You don't need to worry too much about me. You know, unless the situation becomes very dire, I believe I can handle it.
You were given a task, and I was asked to have you carry it out. That's all this is.
So, entering his mind is a first circle skill, basically. So
Okay.
5 stamina to trigger it, and you find yourself standing in that same field, but a younger field. The trees are smaller, the grass is greener, older, but younger at the same time. The devastation hasn't fully taken place yet. It's this is a memory of him visiting their place, and in this memory you get a very clear view of her shield. She has it hanging on the wall while she's offering him coffee. They chat. They have food. He sings songs, tells tales to their children. There's several of these memories of him visiting lots of people, but the memories here are very sharp, very vivid. And then they start getting sharper, almost like the memory have a cutting edge to their borders. And you find yourself standing in the field with him at night. There's smoke rising into the evening sky and burning fire and like blasts of lightning just shooting out of the ground and into the sky. Yeah, he's running. You don't really feel like you need to run. You're in his memory, so you just keep appearing in front of him as he runs past you, running as fast as he can, past bodies, and then it's blank. There's just nothing there. You're just standing in a black void, and he's in that black void with you, just kneeling down in apparent pain.
All right, I'll say, what struck you?
The kneeling figure kind of stands up, turns around to you. The eyes are completely glazed white. There's no pupils. And he says, "There's nothing to see here."
All right, I'll say, you know, to protect to protect the friends that you have lost and to protect their memories is noble, because memories are all we have of them. I understand that, but these memories are important, and to fulfill Daru's true purpose and to aid her son, I need to know what happened.
This is definitely a younger version of the caretaker that's talking to you. And he says, "I'll show you what happened next." And now you're back at the village. He's alone with the child. He's taking care of the child, taking the child under his wing, teaching the child stories. The child is eager to be a great hero. He gifts the child the hammer, the axe, the sword, and 3 javelins of his fallen family members, and but no shield present now. And then you see a bard, tall, thin woman. The child is much older now, nearly an adult, and she comes in and greets the man, and then There's sort of a flash. It's clearly a few days later, and she's talking with the boy, and they head off together.
I'll say you raised Gunther.
The young version says, yes, I did. And then a worthy bard with an interesting plan led him to the next stage of his adventure.
So yes, that bard is Harving.
Indeed. And together with Harving, he has crossed the threshold and entered into the realm of his story.
Say, yes, I know of Gunther and Harving. I have been sent to aid them in their plan.
Be careful. Aid is not always what it seems. And Gunther and Harving, they are not weak.
I've heard the stories. I know they're anything but weak.
Interestingly, this guy does not seem to know about Wulthar.
Okay, that's fine.
But it is fine, but it also is something that, like, you'd figure a bard in his position would have known about Wulthar.
I assume Wuthard probably just came along later in their journey. So his back since he left.
I'm sorry, your audio got weird for a second.
Oh, so has Gunther not been back since he left?
No, still on his adventure. You come back at the end, of course, to become the master of both worlds.
Yes, if you make it that far.
I imagine soon he will be stepping into the abyss, as all good heroes do.
So
There is some measure of pride in the voice, but it's still the voice of the younger version of this guy, not the older version you've met earlier.
I'll say, and I intend to help him. Writing great stories that help historic figures pass into legend. See, that is my specialty. It's what I do. I'm a heroic novelist and an engraver, and I make legends out of our heroes. And I'm going to do that for Gunther. But to do it the right way, I need to know what happened here.
And now there's basically two of them in front, the old version and the young version. And there's sort of an argument. The old version is saying, I happily share what knowledge I have. The young version is saying, this knowledge cannot be shared. It is dangerous.
I'll say, I am Faythen'oc. I welcome the danger.
You are a bard. You're supposed to stay away from danger. Let the heroes do the dangerous work, says the young one. The old guy says, bard's got to do what a bard's got to do. But he doesn't seem to be convincing the younger one.
Yeah, I'll say you are young. Perhaps you are too young yet to fully understand what a bard truly is. And perhaps your older self has, through the wisdom of years, come to understand things that you do not yet know.
All right, let's put this to a roll. So you're definitely playing on... it's actually kind of cunning. Kind of.
Really? I think it's more empathy, but...
Yeah, empathy is definitely my go-to in that situation. Yeah, you bordered on cunning so much that I would have also accepted it. All right, so your empathy is a 4.
Yes.
And your persuasion?
My persuasion is 2. If prose mastery applies here, I have no idea if it would. I do have that.
No, this is not poetic.
Okay.
Really, this is more of you being convincing.
Cool.
Had you put it in the form of a story, a parable, then I would have
Sure,
applied that.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not do that.
I understand. I save my parables for when I'm introducing badass heroes, not for when I'm trying to convince diplomats and whatnot.
Yeah, basically when I'm writing stuff down or trying to impart a very important lesson in like 2 sentences.
And you have pips from Psychic Sense, right? 4 of them?
Yeah, 4.
Okay, so 4 successes. You have... It's not that you convinced him to let go, it's that you gave him enough to think about that you've created a moment of weakness. You can see him sort of wavering, like physically in the air, like sort of becoming incorporeal. This is a moment where you could make a psychic attack to knock the barrier away. The attack is slightly violent, but it wouldn't hurt the guy too bad. You'd hit his composure a little bit. He'd have a rough morning.
If I don't make the attack, is that like the end of the opportunity? Basically, do I have an opportunity to go about this a less violent way, or is this pretty much my end?
This is pretty much your end. If this barrier reforms itself, then it's probably going to reform with its original arguments, having forgotten your arguments.
All right, then I suppose I got to make the attack.
And 3 successes. You punch through the barrier. All right, Troy. You sense that something has gone on inside his head. A barrier has just been knocked down, and your danger instincts are going off. That something is about to come through that barrier from the other side. You're now feeling that from outside this situation, that barrier wasn't put up there to hide knowledge. The barrier was put up to keep a form of psychic violence from being unleashed. You have a split second to either intervene and try and pull him out before he finds out the secret, or to let it happen. And I do mean try to intervene, because it's going to be a roll. This is not automatic, and he succeeded with 3 successes. You'd have to match that with your 3 dice.
So I know it was designed to... I sense immediately that it was designed to hold something in.
As soon as the barrier
Dangerous,
breaks, yeah.
not something that we were actually like searching after, like that kind of thing, or is it like it's like tied together?
The original assumption was the barrier was put there to hide a piece of information, and you are now sensing that the barrier is put there to contain a violent explosion of psychic energy.
Okay, so I think based on that, my objective is to intervene.
Okay. Let's see how many successes you got, because he just got 3. And you got 1 success. So you take 2 composure, or you can put it elsewhere if you want.
That's hitting me, right?
Yes, that's hitting you. And that's sort of a little bit of backlash. And Miles, you see the memory of him running down the path to the house. You see a child, like a toddler, can't be more than 3 years old, levitating off the ground, wreathed in flame, lightning just like launching out of him, striking at Imperial soldiers, throwing them across the battlefield. And then a burst of energy and trails of the energy go to each of his fallen family members, and you see ghosts of them get up and begin committing incredible acts of magical violence. You see volcanoes erupting. You see the ground splitting open and like lava leaping out of it. You see bolts of lightning knocking down trees and just shattering, and what looks actually like an entire army, like a full-on assault came at him. And this child is just unleashing magic. what is notable here is that there's no bard present except for this guy, and he is not channeling anything. And then the energy courses through him. And it is belief energy. It is psychic energy, and he contains it, but you are now part of him, and so now it's being contained in you, and you feel it burning you physically on your skin. Tice and Jackie, you see Miles actually burst into flames. He's currently on fire.
Holy shit.
I'm gonna get my walk out and I'm gonna go to the nearest water source and start filling it up.
The guy did say to keep a bucket of water handy.
Yeah.
I guess I'll grab I'll get the bucket of water that we already have and I'll pour it all over him.
Okay, good. Good first step.
And then someone get a towel, get a giant piece of
I'll roll him up in the carpet, in the rug, on the floor. I'm gonna or a curtain, something.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna make this guy into a burrito.
what I'm going to let the two of you do is make an agility plus labor rolls, and the number of successes you get will reduce the incoming damage. Miles currently has 10 dice worth of damage coming at him, so let's see how many of it you guys are able to mitigate.
I have 3 labor, 2 agility.
I have 1 agility.
I love it. And I have 1! It reminds me so much of when I played Palladia. It's just great.
And I kick him.
Well,
You
Tice,
killed him.
you did get a success, so you do successfully throw the water on him.
Yeah, I realized Gunther is Gohan.
And Jackie got 3 successes. So Miles, you have 6 physical burning damage hitting you.
All right. Well, I have 7 health, so I suppose that works out. Yeah, I'll just take 6 damage to my health.
And needless to say, the psychic connection breaks.
Yeah, I would think so. You guys just barely kept me alive.
I have a medicine of 3. I'd like to treat him.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Do you happen to have first aid?
I could maybe buy it. I don't know. Let me look.
And also, so while this is
I
up,
have 10 points, so I could theoretically buy first aid. I think.
and maybe this is something I couldn't have really divined at the time, but while I was seeing all this shit happen, did I get any sense of a shield being anywhere present in that vision?
The shield was not present on the battlefield, but there was an energy line that shot out towards what feels very shield-like. You don't know what its effect was at the location.
Okay. And is that to the north?
Yes, it was to the north.
The same general direction that I sensed with the other line?
Yep, and having completed this ordeal, it is now the sun has set and the stars are out. And you're able to, in your barely conscious state, stumble outside, confer with the stars. It is the same as the coordinates you got.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll tell them that. I'll kind of point in the direction. I'll say, the shield is almost certainly that way. It's far away from here.
Or at least it was on that night.
Okay, so I'm gonna tax my medicine to give you first aid, and that should have the amount of damage that you received.
Oh, nice. So instead of 6 damage, I would take 3?
Yeah.
Oh, that is excellent.
Yeah, man. You know, funny the things you pick up when you poke people for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. I guess you could say we're now on a hot trail.
Yeah, first aid is an awesome ability.
Are you okay there, Troy?
Can't handle it. I can't handle the dad jokes.
So when you say like that psychic energy is now in me too, does that mean do I kind of have any sense of Gunther now, of like where he might be, or just kind of any kind of presence that I can sense?
So you can, if you want to, try to bottle it up, but by taking the hit that this guy's been delaying on himself forever, or for 20 years, you can also have effectively dissipated it. But if you want to try and bottle up a little bit of a memory of it, just for your own use, you can go ahead and spend 5 stamina for your psychic ability, and you'll gain a psychic item, which is Memory of Gunther's Awakening.
Do I have 5 stamina to spend? I believe I do.
You can use endurance in place of stamina if you wish.
I have exactly 5 stamina, so yes, I will use it.
And it may well be that you're going to find out soon just why it's so useful to have Masashi in the party.
Oh, yeah, I think so, because oh my god, I'm taxed to hell right now.
Yeah. And
No wonder you said to keep a bucket of water. I wasn't expecting him to catch fire like that.
Yeah, I have 17 points of tax right now.
So I hate to ask this question, but I gotta know. How's that tattoo looking after being on fucking fire? Does it have magical properties that protect it from psychic fucking damage? Because that would be great.
It looks, instead of it looking like his skin was burned, it looks like the edges of the feathers on the birds were singed. You can see them like trying to shake off like little embers that are burning on their feathers.
Well, I can accept that.
Well, it is. Well, if it was from the power of a dragon, dragons are resistant to fire.
Depending on the dragon.
Yeah.
I'm just looking up Grill Master real quick, because I know that's one of Tice's superpowers.
It's the stamina recovery one, isn't it?
Yeah, spend 1 survival to produce a heart thing. Restore a number of taxes equal to my survival skill, which is 4.
Yeah, so if Tice fixes you all some sleepy time tea before you go to bed, you'll all recover 4 tax, in addition to the quality of the inn, which out here is a Faythen'oc inn. It's not one of those ridiculous heroic hosts inns. This is mostly an inn about food and such, but it still has quality 6 beds. So in total, between Tice and this, you guys will all recover 10 tax if you spend the night here instead of pushing on immediately.
I'm going to suggest we do that.
Yeah, you've been through a lot, buddy.
Yeah, and like here, I think it's chamomile that is that helps with for like I forget what for using as a paste or something for like any burn wounds. I think it is chamomile, or is it? I can't remember what it's good for. Indeed.
Cool.
Okay, we're going for the experience now. I'd like to give one to Mini Beast for basically making the epic tattoo field on an epic T. It just like channeled everything. I want to give one to Kite for actually like figuring out more stuff about what's happening. You know, like he went and found the local bard and just shoot the shit with him and found all the information that we needed to be able to go to the place to find the investigation. And I like to give one to Miles for his Burning Man impression. You know, just like he's like, oh, it's gonna be something bad, but I'm still gonna do it. You know.
Just because it's gonna hurt a lot doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Yeah, cool. So I would like to start by giving one to Venatori, just because as far as just character intros go, your character intro being that you knew all about the person we were looking for and had some weird exact coordinates of where we were going, in a very like in character way that's actually plausible and pretty cool. It's one hell of a very useful character intro. To Draven for finding Penrin, for basically putting us directly on the path of what we need to look for. We kind of showed up here and weren't exactly sure where we were. We had a general idea where we were going and what we were looking for, but as far as specifics go, you pretty much got us on the right path immediately. So that was cool. And then to Masashi for using the dragon reagent like immediately. it was kind of funny to me because kind of much like Dave, I just assumed you were gonna just kind of store that away for a rainy day until like on some epic occasion it was totally needed. It was life or death existential threat. And you're like, yeah, no, let's get this guy a really sick tattoo, like best tattoo ever. And yeah, I thought that was great. It was a very Faythen'oc way of looking at things, which is that literally every situation demands the greatest of heroism. So it got me thinking, yeah, Faythen'oc probably wouldn't store anything away for a rainy day. So I thought that was a pretty cool character building moment.
Yeah, like didn't you guys almost immediately start guzzling like potions that were given to you by goblins? We're like, whoa, like hold on.
I drank all but one of them like within 3 days of getting them, I think.
we tried to drink them as a toast when we were given them to begin with.
Yeah. I made my Griffin drink one of them.
Oh yeah. All right, I'll go. To Troy for like trying to be low key and like kind of like slowly saunter your way over there, like, hey man, how you doing? I kind of liked like the sort of like delicacy that you were trying to treat the situation with, and tried to approach it like diplomatically, but I think it was also kind of like awkward in a very human way. Like he knows you're there, but you still like tried to kind of be like subtle. So I appreciate that. For Tice, like I just love the ambiance that your character brings. Like I just imagine this, your character's a dude, yeah? Yeah, I imagine this like little guy who's just kind of like quietly in the corner, and he's just got like a little thing, and he's just like grinding tea leaves, just kind of focusing in it, and just like, yeah, that's fucking zen. That's good shit right there. And then for Miles, Jesus, it's hard to choose. Really, like, deciding to fuck up that psychic wall was probably just like, I mean, the chaos that ensued from that was like pretty crazy, but you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck with this wall. And I was like, oh, I don't know, man. But you did choose to fuck with it, and it was really interesting what we got to see.
Yeah,
and it's like awesome because it's like that's such an amazing like little like it could have gone the other way and we wouldn't have known like the crazy shit that happened.
Just gotta poke. Sometimes you just gotta poke it with a stick.
Which is great because like that fills in the backstory and it kind of fits perfectly with like Harving's goals. Like he's already there. He's just like putty, able to be molded to like whatever. He's already a demigod basically. He just needs to be like given some training. He's a perfect subject for my thesis, essentially.
Yeah, it's like I said before, he's like the Gohan of this series.
Well, for relieving this guy of a pain that he didn't even realize he was in, because if he'd remembered it, it would have burned him. You have earned the respect of not only the local community, but specifically the local bard community, which is a big deal in Faythen'oc territories. So all of you gain a renown for participating and helping this guy let loose of that piece of his history. He is now able to remember the moment without getting burned. I guarantee you that his frail frame would not have survived that fire.
Shit, mine barely did, and I'm all like badass Hemingway bard.
Yeah, you've got the power of God and anime on your side, and that still sucked.
Yeah, no, like I wouldn't have survived it if it hadn't if I hadn't had like 3 people mitigating damage on it.
That's fucking teamwork.
So, Renan, does that mean we take a what's it called? It's not like a title, but like a trait, or no, not a trait.
So if you're at your maximum traits, you can replace one if you wish with something relevant. It needs to be something that the party agrees is relevant to what your character has done.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to try. I meant like something that, like some kind of descriptor of what we did.
Yeah, that's basically.
Okay,
So,
okay,
yeah,
that is a trait.
If you're not at your maximum traits, you can just add a new trait. But whatever the trait is, it needs to be something that the rest of the party agrees you deserve.
Yeah, no, I don't want to replace anything I have.
On our new system, you can have a number of traits equal to your potential. So as your potential goes up, you can start stacking more and more traits on.
So what could he use for? I forget what was the thing. What can you use Renown for again?
You can use Renown to increase your resources, connections. You can just get 10 experience points. And that's a choice. So you can choose one of those 3. But then also, no matter which one of those 3 you choose, you also have the option to do what Miles was just talking about, where you can either add or replace one of your traits. You can have as many traits as you have potential. And your traits, they're basically ways of getting free threshold bonuses. If you're a spellcaster, they're really important.
So do I have stuff in my potential and stamina and stuff for me that I should be using?
You should have at least 1 potential. It only costs 1 point, so it's sort of a normal thing for characters to have. You don't need to use it, but your stamina is so what we used to call stamina, we now call endurance, and what we used to call arcane potential, we now call stamina. What we used to call arcane, we call potential, and now everybody has potential, which sounds awesome and egalitarian. But yeah, the idea is for non-magic users, the potential extends their endurance. It gives you stamina points that work just like endurance points, with one caveat, and that caveat is that you can only use them if you do not have a disadvantage. Disadvantage would be that you're going against one of your traits. So if you have a trait of brave and you're trying to run away, then you would not be able to use your stamina to pay for talents to help you run away.
Ironically, I'm pretty sure the trait I already have applies directly to what I did, so I don't think this actually covers any new ground for me. Which I guess isn't ironic at all. It's just being a character.
But you can have another trait now, because you have a potential of 3, so you can add a second trait.
Me?
Well, let's see. Miles has 3 potential.
And I level it up like any other skill?
Yeah, so potential, it goes in the slot where arcane used to be. So it levels up like an aptitude.
I see.
1 point, then 4 points, then 9 points, then 16 points, then 25 points. So it escalates pretty rapidly. It gets pretty harsh. But it gives something for characters that don't want to be jacks of all trades to start pouring points into to just make their current stuff more awesome. Your stamina is your arcane potential multiplied by your highest aptitude.
Yeah, I think I'd like my trait. I can't tell. Basically, I have two thoughts about what I want my trait to be. One would be something relating to like psychically delving into people. The other being just being on fire or
You could
having
call it-
having experience with being on fire.
You could call it Psychonaut for the first one.
I like it.
I like what you chose there, Troy. Psychic interference.
It's like the fourth one I wrote down. I think that one makes the most sense. It may be something we have to encounter later, but
I do not actually know where Jackie's character sheet is.
It's Tattooer McTattooson. I like put in a fucking bullshit thing. I don't know if it's in. Hang on, I might not have shared it yet.
Yeah, I see Harving, Indra Rook, Cantor, and Riker.
I'm moving it right now.
Anyway, good job, everyone. I need to get some sleep so I can go catch my flight.
Cool.
Good night.
Yeah. Good night, and
Yeah, yes.
thank you for a great session.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And so that was the session, which went really well. And then I caught my flight and went on vacation, and now I'm back. So we're going to record another one in 2 days, and then next week I'll broadcast that new one. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful evening.